To yet another Saturday session of Talking Films Online. This group was formed on June 2nd, 2020, that is during the lockdown when most of us were watching a lot more films than we normally do. Almost on a whim, Nikhila and I decided to formalize our Facebook discussions on films by forming an online film club. Since then, we have had uninterrupted discussions on films from all over the world every Saturday at 9 p.m. We have also held film festivals of Iranian, French, East European, Kannada, and other cinemas. We hold an annual smartphone filmmaking contest for students every June as part of our anniversary celebrations. Today we have with us Husina Thockchomh, who will lead the discussion on fried fish, chicken soup, and a premiere show. It is my pleasure to introduce Husina. Husina has an MA in Sociology from Punjab University, Chandigarh. She is an entrepreneur and member of the Central Board of Film Certification, Government of India, under Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. It is indeed serendipitous that we have a person like her for a film that raises the issue of censorship. I'm equally delighted to inform you all that the maker of this film is with us. Mamta Murthy is a producer-director at Street Katha Studio in Bombay. Here's a selection from her filmography. Bread and Belongings as a producer. www.thelastmileselco.com, one of India's early interactive films. Fried Fish, Chicken Soup, and a premiere show that has won the National Award for Best Film on Art, International Jury Award, John Abraham National Award, and so on. Colors Black, the Grand Prix 9th Biennale of Moving Images, Geneva, and Sisters Incorporated that was made for a BBC World Series. Her collaborative works include videos for the Western Suburb, installation on sweatshops of cinema, and Art is East Africa and Art is India with George Kwasha for his Guggenheim grant-supported international video series. Welcome once again to Husina and Mamta, and over to you, Husina. You may now initiate the discussion.
Hi, good evening once again to you all. And it's so refreshing to see you all alive. And, because out here in Notice, I think Mamta should be knowing that everything is dead by 8 now. So everyone is in the comfort of the bed and in the house. But we are here together. She's my friend. And I think, Gita, you should introduce Konika also. Okay. So we'll do that later.
Yeah, sure. Sorry about that.
So the last few days, we've been coordinating with Gita for the, trying to, So if I may take a few minutes of your time to, just to bring forth the topic of discussion, like fried fish, chicken soup, and a premiere show. And I must give it to Mamta Murthy that she has done a wonderful, wonderful job on this, because when she got the national award, I would like to, start with the, take your kind attention to the citation of a national award, which says that for taking us on a journey that chronicles the struggle to produce films in strife-torn Manipur. That says all about her film. I mean, the way she tried to bring forth how filmmaking in Manipur, especially in the, areas where, and she's done a beautiful, like it says, it's become the, she made it, the narrative so organic. I mean, I saw it for the first time, although that film, she was following the film 21st Century Kunti, which I had already, censored in 2012. I think in 2012 or 11. I can't get the date. Is it 2011?
Yeah, it's on the cusp. So no wonder.
Yeah,
It's to the
yeah,
very late
somewhere between that. So
yeah.
we had already set for the censorship of that film, and but just to know that somebody has documented the way the film was, going through all the turmoil, all that, uh, you know, Manipur at that time, Imphal especially, that was 2010, I think, 2010. That is the time where you have shown it in your, extracts from all those, the little about the incidents about Sanjay and Vibina and, everyone. You have done a wonderful, I mean, you have not spoken anything, but the film itself has proven how much you have made an effort and so beautifully you have put through in that 1.5 hour of film. I mean, I must say, I must give it to you. And we, as in the censorship, as board member of censorship, we love such kind of documentary which comes so organic, and all the facts we put through, because those days when we were censoring and trying to certify films, documentaries and films, it comes like very repetitive. Like if someone is making a film on Sharmila Iron, then it goes on like it comes as a series of one by after the other. And if someone is making a film on drug abuse or on militancy or all that, it comes in series like one after the other, so it becomes very repetitive. But this kind of documentary, this kind of film which Mamta has produced, I mean directed and created, this kind of documentary is so welcoming, because without any it's so organic. And I must take you, I mean, I've just written some, just give me a second. Like you went through with that, and it's a home-based filmmaking, and you've gone through the various locations, through the sites, through all that lanes, and as and I would like to say here that historically Manipur has been I mean, as an independent kingdom, through most of the history, Manipur has had a very controversial merger with India in the mid 20th century. Since then, Manipur has always been racked by militancy, and that has been put in such a in a, without any words. How she has put in that film is something which I'm like, it's so overwhelming. And since you are here, Mamta, like we would like to because I can't say anything more, because you've done your job, and we are here to get into the discussion of we want to hear from you more than how I can talk about the film. So without going through any further, I would like to open this as for discussion, and we'd like to put questions to you on this film if you are ready for that.
Sure, why not? I mean,
Yeah.
I want to handle it. Yeah. So yes, it was organic. I love the word you use.
Yeah, it is so organic.
Because I did set out with a very with a self-imposed dogma, so to say, that I will be with only one film, and whatever the film encounters, whatever I cross in the wherever the film goes, I go, and wherever the making goes, I am there, and one of the context because I was more interested in the context of filmmaking than the filmmaking itself. And what of the context seeps into the film, because it's not like an art that you sit in your four walls and create. It is an art of the street, cinema, and how much of the city seeps in, how much of the culture, how much of what's going on seeps in. So in that sense, it was an experiment for myself. So hence, I did not set out to say कि मेरे को ये लेना है. उस time, Irom Sharmila was released and put and detained and released, and all the drama was going on. All the whatever you see documented otherwise, specifically voluminous enough to warrant a whole film was going on. And but for me, it was, if it's important, then it will come in the film, So I did go with that. It was really tough because you have to just control yourself to not go film like a headless chicken, to go film everything, So really, the film unit of Kunti led the way, and the various sites that a film traverses, even before it's created as a complete art product, that comes through and I have tried to do justice to it, even on the edit, kept it as authentic as possible. And even the politics that you see seep in was literally what I encountered during the shoot. It's not something I went to seek. So that's why I show you where the threads. So there is this thread of the film unit, and there is this thread of the history of the cinema that we're talking about.
Right.
And there is life as it unfolds, and they sort of crisscross on their own. Even as I'm following, they cross at some points, and I'm sure you sort of noticed that, yeah. And so those were moments, aha moments, and that's what kept me going. It was a long journey. It was very rewarding, and I have to mention that the film was produced in a context, in the sort of a intellectual framework set by the project called Cinema City, which was happening very far away in Mumbai at that time. So the curator, Madhushri Datta, who's also the producer on the film, she wanted an outside non-Mumbai filmmaking culture. So that's when she called me in, because I love to film out of Bombay. I just, yeah. So I looked at Manipur. I chose Manipur. It was a very exciting decision for me, because I've lived everywhere in India except in the Northeast. So for me to actually get to travel there was very exciting. But since I was an outsider, it took me a long time. And you see, but my unit was from Manipur, so you see that friction of insider outsider kind of a.
Right.
Some things I could do, I noticed only because I was an outsider. But there were some things that we are able to film only because they were insiders on the unit, So actually, filmmaking is such a group art, and I feel sad that along the way, I mean, it's been years since the film, so my collaborators on the film are not around with me anymore, in that sense, to talk about it. But it's really a group art. Filmmaking. So yeah, I mean, these are things that
So I was going, I mean, my duty as a film censor member, my duty is not to critique on anybody's film or anybody documentation, or our duty is to sit in the secrecy of, from the producer, away from the producer and director, and we have our own members, and we sit and we looked at a film and we just give certificates. But what is interesting and exciting is when documentary comes, we have no bar of nothing to delete, nothing to blur out. You know, documentary is the truth, the fact laid down on your table, and you can't do anything about it. You just have to pass it on. So, you know, that's why I enjoy documentary. And your film, I read some review from the Manipuri, some Manipuri people have, you know, some of the, I think it was a local online, Kangna online, they have like reviewed your film as it's not a documentary, it's a film with a soul. Well, that was so nice to, you know, so people welcome your film, but it's been a long time now. There's a gap of like a decade now. So do you have anything on the pipeline, like any project, any new?
Well, I do, but the pandemic has put this, you know, spanner.
Because what I can say now is in the last few years, filmmaking in Manipur has changed tremendously. It's no longer, I mean, it's more safer now. People are more outgoing now, and the technicality of filmmaking has changed also. And so it would be a good place, good time to, you know, start a new project in Manipur, and you would see the difference. You would know the difference. So that's why I asked you that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Geeta, anybody on the panel to?
Yeah, anyone is free to ask a question or make a comment on the film. Mamta, you almost have preempted a question that, you know, was in the heads of a lot of us here, and that is why Manipur? And you did speak about, you know, being an outsider to the place, and how in some cases it was advantageous for you. But could you say something more about, you know, this outsider perspective that you took to this place, and how it impacted the way you documented this?
Yeah, I think every filmmaker, if you are engaged enough with a film, you have a journey of your own, which if you're lucky, you're able to, you know, I mean, it's transcribed on the film. So hopefully you got some of it, but I can talk about it. I mean, definitely I was a big nationalist before I went in, and I looked at history of India differently now. I can see that the idea of India, which I love so much, came at a cost. You know, it came at a cost, and people paid that cost. Who is not me, not someone who's from the mainland, and you know, the people I revere, you know, are freedom fighters. For some people, our freedom fighters were, you know, nothing less than land grabbers, you know, and that's the truth of it. And it's not true that you make a documentary and it passes this CBFC here. Sorry, Husina, it doesn't happen, and it happened in my film. There is a lot of truth that we are not willing to face, and let's face that truth. That we're not willing to face some truths, you know.
Yeah.
So that was quite the journey I made, for sure. And I spent few weeks or 3 visits, which is not a very long time. But I could, but the thing is that because it's a small city and not as big as Bombay, is a lot of the sites were site of violence, and as well as love. You know, वही scene होगा, you know, that road you would know, right? Like where Sanjit was shot. I mean, there could be love scenes over there, and it just it was layered, and it seemed to be done very effortlessly. Low work never stopped. It's a very buzzy city. People go about their work, and curfew उस time तो curfew 4 बजे था, तो तब भी फट 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 करके सब काम हो जाता था तब तक, like
people tend to normalize themselves.
Yes,
in
so,
whatever situation.
I was keen. I mean, of course, the thing about Manipur, you're going in, you want to know as a filmmaker how do you make films with so much violence in real life, with literally a gun to your temple, because and you never know. And there's not much of a difference between a gun held by the state and the non-state. Yeah? Let's sort of admit that the truth is you'll be dead at the end of it, or you'll have your leg broken, or which has happened there. So I was keen, and which is a moment that happened on the film where, like, by then it was many years of continuous conflict in Manipur. By the time I went there, it was not a short period. It was movement for independence had been going on for a few decades by then. The militancy was at its peak, and so and AFSPA was in place, and I wanted to know, like it's a moment that I encountered during the making, where on a cell phone you find pictures of a birthday party and pictures of encounter that you have just crossed on the street. It's like, "Ye kya tha?" And that was, I was crossing and there was a killing on the road. Chal raha tha, to usne wo bhi photo le liya. And it's right, and right after that, he's reached the destination and shot the festival or whatever wherever he was going. So continued with the day. So I mean, there is you could see Manipur as peripheral, or you could see Manipur as a border area which has access to multiple, it has access to the further east and further west, so that way, in terms of cinema, you could see that pull and that attraction, and which seeps into cinema, like of culture that's picked up, and it's already a deep-rooted culture. It's 3380, Bakangba's rule, and it's literal culture. They have their own script. It's an old culture, not something you can enter as another nation and wipe out. You can't do that. There will be, you can't make them disappear, which I think has happened in various other areas. So
you didn't have
I answered your question exactly.
Yeah.
I think you get my drift.
So you didn't have a script as a, but you went along as the crew, along with the crew and the unit of the 21st century, the whole team. So you didn't have a script totally ready-made. I
did have a script. And,
okay.
Because at that time, I don't know if you can imagine it right now, it was really, I didn't know if I'm going back to film, if I will, upset somebody along the way. I have been summoned, and what are you doing? And
yes.
I didn't know you. I think you know what I'm talking about. And so every visit could be the last one, and I didn't know.
Yes.
And so I did. I did.
You had a script.
Yeah, I did have a script, but it was. It was not so reality based as the film turned out to be. It was much more abstract. Now that when I see it, I see the film has journeyed a lot.
True. And I must say, you you are quite brave, because at that time, starting from 2001 to 2014, Manipur was totally chaotic because of all the militancy. Like you said, like it was there in the film also, like you cannot speak Hindi. And I swear you're, brave enough to be among them and, go through with your film. And you can't wear sari, you can't put bindi, it was a totally like that Indian, to be an Indian was a totally, the militancy vibe was totally against Hindi speaking people. So I would say that you were quite brave to go through.
Luckily for me, I don't wear a sari, I don't wear a bindi, and I don't no, it's like,
but generally,
I'm an Indian, and you can see,
yes.
I look mainland Indian,
Yeah.
That's there. But what is there to note about a visitor and the courage of a visitor when there are people living their whole life there? So I don't know how to respond to being called brave to visit and make a film when people have grown up in continuous conflict. You saw the little kids, discussing
about
that's the extent of violence. And even that's the culture of violence, the normalcy of violence, which is
there's a cat.
Yeah. It's when actually violence stops disturbing you also.
Yes.
It becomes a way of life. Yeah.
So how about the title of your film? How did that come about?
It's sort of like milestones in the film. And right? Like fried fish banate hain, chicken soup is a censorship episode, and premiere show finally hota hai. So it's like little milestones.
Yeah.
There was chapters hote the na? Like that, So it's just something I don't know what to, because if anything else you say, then I'm telling you how to view the film, So I wanted it to not be something that I tell you how to view the films. I cracked a lot of, and finally I didn't crack it. Madhushri cracked it, and this is perfect.
And I'm sure, like Geeta and all, you must have listened to what the people were talking about the chicken soup. Did you? Yeah.
Yeah, it's strange, and following on from what you said, that it was scary to be an Indian visitor in 2001, 2002, and cut to today when there's a nationalist party in power there. So times change, and
time has changed a lot.
Very unpredictable ways.
Any other questions, comments from participants here? Nikhila, would you like to say? Yeah, please go ahead, Nikhila.
Yeah, so thanks, Mamta, first of all, for joining the discussion. And
thank you so much for having me. Look at me, the root. Thank you for having me.
And Husina, thank you. Husina, thank you very much for initiating the discussion. We wanted someone, who would tell us how this film looks for an insider. For us, for somebody like me, watching this film, I'm completely amazed at the kind of perspective that Mamta has brought in. It's so understated. There is violence, it's there, but it's not something that the documentary is pushing us to notice, or that's not what is dominant in the film. What is dominant in the film is how the activity of filmmaking is, being carried out, even in these kind of trying circumstances. And really, at one level, to me, it was like a film like Superman of Malegaon, which kind of is a film on the process of making films. And Sorry?
Wonderful film, I see.
Sorry?
It's a wonderful film.
Yeah, it is. I know. So at one level, it was that a kind of making a film, kind of a film, and at another level, it was also for us kind of bringing us, giving us a sense of this history of Manipuri cinema. Among the many, sanctioned ignorances that prevail in film studies, is also this ignorance about outlying areas. If it's not Bombay or Calcutta or Madras, we don't know very much else about what is happening in other places. So to tell us that there is a history of cinema through this, and it's done again, through the ways in which the film brings in what were the earlier efforts at filmmaking, bringing those in, almost seamlessly. Before we start realizing it, it's all there. And then taking us to this whole history of digital cinema and Manipuri film industry. You say at that point of time is the first film industry that has gone completely digital, when other places were still celluloid and digital, both were at work. So the circumstances which push this kind of digital filmmaking, the efforts at filmmaking, some of which is, it's so heartwarming to see this family cook and also produce and also, write the scenes. So it reminds you of Falke's cottage industry kind of efforts. So at one level,
his wife used to develop.
Right, I know, yeah. So that's why it kind of reminds you of.
That's one of the reasons I start the film. Like, you want to watch a film on cinema, and you open in a kitchen. That was a deliberate choice to open it in the kitchen. Yeah.
So I thought all these were, really came together very well in your film, giving us a sense of history of Manipuri cinema, the contemporary situation, the political situation, and surely, what kind of life and what kind of cultural activity can take place when everything is being monitored by these menacing, army people in your backdrop, and yet life is going on and the film is going on. I thought all these really came together very well for me in the film. Thanks very much for making such a wonderful film and introducing us to many diverse aspects of cinema, Mamta. Thank you.
It reminds me of a film title there. The opening montage ends on there. It says, "Who will rule us next?" Yeah.
Anyone, would Konika like to say something? Konika also is from Manipur. Konika, me and Rajan did our MA together in the University of Pune. And she now, she's in the field of teacher education. She's a professor in a college there. Konika, would you like to say something? I think they're having some trouble with the... Okay. Tarkeshwar, yes, please go. Okay, Konika. Konika, would you like to say something about the film, Konika?
As Husina said, it's an amazing film, and of course, documentation is, it must have been very, very difficult. Documenting, the whole, making of that particular film, and we can understand the hard work that has been put into it. And imagine, if I call it an outsider coming here I mean, intermingling with the common people and trying at the same time to document what is going on. It must have been a very, very challenging work, but it's been paid off because it's come out absolutely wonderful. And yes, that is what I would like to say. What I would like to know from Mamta is there any, like in all the views and reviews, did you face any, can you just narrate us some difficulties you faced, in documenting that particular film? Some, difficulties.
The challenges.
Challenges, I should say.
I mean, really, the usual, the distance, it's so far away from Bombay, and but somehow it was also useful to get away. It sort of marked sort of stood for how far away from Bombay it was, in many ways. Yeah, it wasn't easy to stay on to film schedule after schedule. I literally went alone. I landed with all my gear, and my unit I chose in Manipur. But I had some filmmakers. They helped me. They put me on to prospective people who could help me. But let me just say, I didn't go through anything that any other filmmaker there was not going through, So one really frustrating day, I told myself that, I mean, what made you believe that you were actually outside of it? You are inside of it, and that's what you set out to do. Now, whatever you're facing, you are inside it. You're with the team. You're with Kunti, and you're with the team, and you are facing. What made you believe that you would be outside it? So there is no. So in that sense, then it ceases to be a representation. It's a chronicle, and you are not entirely outside. I felt like an insider there, and that is always something, whether it's said or unsaid, an outsider always tries to be. Even when I travel to a place, by the end, I want to be a little bit of an insider, and it's a natural human urge that you just cannot get rid of that, So even the travails of filming in Manipur, somewhere, they made me feel like it's a really obtuse way, but it made me feel like an insider at the end of it. And since I actually finished, I was not kicked out. But so there is not much that I would like to complain about. But yeah, I had some close shaves. Yeah.
Did you adjust the food?
Sorry?
Did you adjust to the food of the Meiteis, the Manipuris?
The what?
Food. She's asking about the food.
Yes. I love the spread, right? And how beautifully everything is presented. It's such an aesthetic culture. The food itself is a visual, that's something that I felt. But then Kunti didn't go there, so I didn't go there. So there is so much that I missed out that it's frustrating a bit. That there is so much, as you would see, right? There's so much I missed out because Kunti didn't go there. I didn't go there.
And you must have noticed the love of chai in Manipur.
Yeah.
Everyone loves chai.
I know those little what would you call it? The shacks, often by women, and chai, and with that snails thing.
I think Basav has raised his hand. Basav, please go ahead.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for this film. Hi, Mamta. I had a couple of questions, mostly on the process, I think. So one was, since you were, kind of following this film group, so I wanted to sort of understand, you'll be mostly shooting on intuition, right? Because you were following a group of people working. So you're filming intuitively, choosing to film this side versus this side, or So I wanted to understand, since language was, assuming you don't, I don't know if you know Manipuri, but assuming you don't, how did you tackle that? And because those choices have to be made right there as to what would you want to film, right? So I was curious to know, how did you tackle this particular thing? Second one was, I mean, you have a writer credit, so does it mean
So
that you let?
can I
Sorry.
answer that first, and then we
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Yes, and that's the challenge and that's the beauty. I love to film in cultures which the language I don't understand. It's just, then you're so much more intuitive and you're so much more present, in a strange way. Otherwise, you are just pegged down by words, and nobody, you cannot take, in a conflict area, you cannot take anyone's words for real. It's, if you know what I mean. People, like, I could not have made a expose film. No one would speak to me. They will say one thing and they mean something else, and it's particularly true. It's always true, but it's particularly true. So I never really believed testimonials as to be anything but a version of truth. So it's really, speech is overrated. So I enjoyed, that was one of the reasons I was there, because I didn't understand the language. And it brings about, it's a change in your body language. It's a change in the way you approach filming. That I like to be in that sort of nervous state. You don't know what's going on. You don't know till everything is translated, transcribed, translated, and all of that. So can you imagine? Like, I didn't exactly know what was going on in Film Forum. I was just,
Yeah, that's why I was kind of curious, what was guiding your filming then, because language certainly wasn't. So how were you making your choices of what should be filmed?
So I really think, I mean, I don't want to be very whatever about it, but really, it's like a third eye opens up.
Okay.
You see things. You are so much more sensitive to people. Because Manabi, by then, I mean, I knew him so well. Not in that way that he would talk to me so much. No, but you just know he's my fraternity. He's a filmmaker, and he's a forest officer who's got into films, So it's not finances that's driving him. It's pure love of his art that drives him. And by then I know him, and I can see that there is something going deeply wrong with the whole thing, So that dictates how you're framing. Do you go close? Do you stay wide? Also, and it's really fun to film like that. What do I? But it's a gamble. You take a gamble, and I can't even tell you about the film that's not in the film. I had a whole thread with the audience of the film, a whole thread, and as much as you have on this, I had the audience. And they were supposed to meet at the premiere show in my head, like, in this script, like, but I had to drop that because this became such an extended story that I had to drop that. So you do end up filming a lot, but this is also digital filmmaking. I mean, I'm a digital filmmaker, I guess. So I'm not, I don't have celluloid limitations. I wish I had the aesthetics of celluloid, but I don't have the limitations, so I was free. Yeah.
Great, thank you. And I wanted to ask also about, you have a writing credit on the film, so it means that you had first scripted before you. I mean, I didn't understand how the writing credit came along in a film where you were filming based on intuition mostly. Yeah.
Because the way you are seeing it is written by me. I mean, I have to admit that, right? you know. I've not kept a camera off running, and I'm not showing you that. And I'm writing a version of what transpires, right? And in which the past and the present come together and give you a sense of the contemporary, right? You know, so yeah, I think
So it's more of an editing script, if I can call it that. Yeah.
yes, I guess you could call it that.
Tarkeshwar, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I think some of the issues that I wanted to raise came up in the conversation between Mamta and Basav, I think. One is the film, like other films that we have watched in this series on documentaries, adds to our understanding of history of film itself. So in that sense, yes, many film, and then though it was about making of a film, a kind of meta film, but it, as others have pointed out, it tries to place this particular film in the history of films in Manipuri language, and then the history of Manipuri itself. So in that sense, it was quite interesting, the methodology that was chosen in this documentary. And the second point that I wanted to raise was about what Basav called as the guiding principle, or if I can call it as motive, because I don't know about the process, but the product is in front of me. And what is the motive in this narrative? Is that the desire for the film. In fact, Mamta also said how being a forest officer, he wanted to make a film in spite of not having the resources. So I think that was the desire for the film. To make a film, to watch a film is something that constantly we through the entire film. And the framing device of the narrative is also quite interesting. It starts with a quotation from a colonial text, how they looked at these people watching the new visual that has come up. And then they ending up with showing the visuals made by them. So in that sense, the framing itself was quite interesting. So it shows the desire to watch and also to show. So the desire is not only about making the film, acting in the film, editing the film. In everyone there, the desire was visible. And their vanity van, when the actor goes and sits in a Maruti Omni, was also quite interesting. See, it adds to a knowledge of even what the stars of those industries are doing. So in that sense, there's a desire which guides them to act in the movies, to make in the movies. And also, at the end, the way the people flock to the premiere show, the desire to watch that movie is quite amazing, and it ends with that. In that sense, I thought desire for the film to watch, to make, to act itself is the guiding principle in the narrative. And the way it has been framed to watch the visuals, to the curiosity to see and to show, I think that I liked it, the way it is framed. Thank you for the movie.
Thank you so much for being an engaged audience. And you weren't expecting it, were you? You weren't expecting the premiere show to be, it's a sock in the face where, you think, oh, choti si film bana rahe hain and all that, right? And then you see this mega premiere show that they get. They were a bit taken aback also, the filmmakers themselves.
See, in many of these languages, we did not make it to the language of modernity in the print culture, especially the video. You also speak about that in the movie. The video parlors, and then making the video and then showing it in those parlors. I think that culture was also dominant in the 90s onwards in many of these languages. So that history is already there. So there is an audience who would like to watch such movies, not in the mainstream, in the theaters, but in small, what you call as shacks. There will be a screening video, VHS player, and then they watch it. So that's culture was there. So in that sense, this new technology, which was not available in the context of modernity in print, uh, which came to them one with video and then with a digital camera now. So earlier it was only showing the films, but with digital camera, anyone could make a movie. So in that sense, it is helping many of these languages to carve out a niche for themselves in the post-print culture and create a new public. So that was quite interesting.
Actually,
That is well documented in the movie too.
Yes, it was happening across Northeast at that time and parts of Eastern India also. But initially I thought, but you know, it would have been a very wide stroke and typical mainland Indian going and say Northeast Wale and like that. So I decided to stay particular to one culture and try and see how they are producing their cinema. But otherwise, there were a lot of, they were in little even dialects without their own scripts were making films of their own in that era.
Any more comments?
Yeah, I would like to make a
Yes.
statement, and I found that a lot of technology dominates the whole film, right? Because the first shot actually is an electric wire, and then it goes to the kitchen,
Right.
right? And that is very dominant right through the film.
And there's a
Right,
flight
and-
because I flew in. There was no way to, there's no train at that point. I mean, it was still getting constructed. But I flew in, so it's also me flying in and I just.
Yeah. So that the whole idea of the technology and the culture, and I'm not talking about all the political things, because I have students and friends who are from Manipur and they face a lot of trouble over here in Baroda and Gujarat. It's not at all comfortable for them. Right? I'm not talking about that, but the question of dominance of technology is something that hits you straight, and that's what hit me in the whole film, right? And how this technology actually affects the culture of the people. I don't know. I think that's something, because the people with mobiles and the people with scooters and people with cars and all that kind of modern technology is something that hits very badly. And I don't know how somebody studied this, right? Yeah, that's my comment.
But if you notice, एक लालटेन लेके देखने आ रहे थे. So so there's if you see in the last montage where all the film traveled to, the only light source was the projector.
Yeah.
And we exist in all eras simultaneously.
Any other questions?
I have a comment. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
you're
sorry,
on.
my connectivity is very bad. But first of all, Mamta, thank you for such a fantastic film. I enjoyed it so very much. And even just to kind of connect back to many of the points being raised already, it actually reminded me of Abbasya of Tamil, And of course, we know the status of the Iranian filmmakers today, and so among many others, Laura Mulvey has this whole idea of what are you doing? First of all, even the last week, right? So we had the great Hema Chaturvedi. So I don't think there's a special celluloid aesthetic at all. And I don't think you should at all feel inhibited. I think it is such a fantastic film. And precisely the digital, I think, democratizes a certain kind of visual culture and makes cinephilia so widely available. And that's so important, as your film has just shown us. But, this thing of the Coco trilogy, right? So you're filming very unpredictable events. And in a sense, exactly. So you've raised many, many points about realism and how cinema verite needs to be kind of, taken, sort of, what shall I say, read between the lines. So she has this idea of the cinema of delay. So already, and so she also works with psychoanalysis, right? So you watch a film and then you edit it, and that's how trauma works. So I'm just saying that, so one, because it's Manipur, which is the repressed unconscious of the Indian nation, right? They're just going into the 75th anniversary now. Two, the beautiful ways in which it was layered. Exactly, layering is the word that I'm looking at, because there is violence underneath, and it's coming up to the surface all the time. And we also watched a film which had a similar title about chicken curry, which was made by this very young Kannada director. So when I compare the two, right? So this is a young director whose film has been shown as well. So there are so many things that struck me about your film, but and also just kind of to Nikhila and to Geeta, every week it's really a treat, and thank you very much. I really enjoyed it.
You make me feel worse about having not known that there is a film club like this all this while. So I didn't get a lot of your references because you're referring to films that you've seen just before. I missed that.
Sure. So Advita and Nikhila, I'm sure we'll give you all of those. Yeah.
I think Basav has raised his hand again. Basav?
I know if anyone else wants to ask questions, I mean, I can
Okay.
wait. Yeah, I can wait because I've already spoken a little bit.
That's okay. Please go ahead.
Okay, I think, Mamta, I was curious about from a journey perspective, from a filmmaker journey perspective, because you also, I mean, you come from a film culture, which is the Bombay film culture, Bollywood film culture. You've worked on even bigger films like Kuch Kuch Hota Hai and all, right? So, mainstream big studio films, right? So I wanted to sort of understand what are your sort of, when you saw this, when you experienced this film culture as part of making this film, how did you, I don't know, I mean, what was your inferences, or what was your experience like in terms of film culture itself, filmmaking culture rather than just film culture?
My heart was in my mouth a lot of times, because really मतलब 10-10:30 तक सब पूरी यूनिट खा के निकलती है. By then you can imagine what the state of the light is. So you can see that director's frustration, right? He's saying, मतलब 1 बज रहे हैं, मैं क्या फिल्म करूं? So I was so involved in the director and producer's anxieties. I cannot tell you. So yeah, it's because, see, as it is, by having a common IST in trying to say one India, one this, and XYZ, we have really shortchanged the Northeast and the eastern part of India. Already they've lost 2 hours. And filming is a, not an extreme sunlight activity. The best light is, first half of the, pre-noon and post 3, right? So they missed out on so much of the day. Because of because one of IST and of this culture where सब लोग पहले खाना खा के फिर निकलते थे शूट करने. I'm like, यार निकलो अभी. चावल खा रहे हैं, फिश करी खा रहे हैं, सब खा रहे हैं. And I used to be feeling so nervous for the producer and the director. Like, come on, guys, go now, film a little. Yeah. So that anxiety is very similar, whether you are in Bombay or Imphal. So yes, I mean, structurally, I mean, there is one way to make a film, and that's how everyone made the film. Now, within that, you can say, infrastructure, poor thing, they're pushing their trolley, which is a makeshift trolley, but they have trolley shots, they have cranes, nothing stopped them. I mean, the camera person would climb a tree and he would take a top angle. So nothing stopped. Actually, if you really think about it, if you're determined to, which time and again filmmakers have exhibited across the world, that if you're determined to make a film, no part in the world can stop you from doing it, in the way you want it, in the best shots that you can dream up, you will be able to execute it. And that's the spirit the fraternity displayed. So yeah, no, it's the scale. It's a difference in scale. And honestly, even censorship, it was not so severe at that time, but today I mean, why go as far as Iran? We exist under tremendous stress, and the worst censorship is the kind which doesn't reach the authorities. There is so much self-censorship on, because you don't know from what quarter anybody can censor you. There is no need only for an official institution anymore. Anyone can censor you. Anyone can get up and, like change the very structure of your thinking, like, deep down.
And Mamta, we in the censor board with the new government, we were given a list of words we cannot put it in the film. It would be about 25 words, curse words, which were always there before. Say it came in. The order came in 2017. We cannot use the word lesbian. We cannot use the word homo. We cannot use the word gay. We cannot use the word kiss. There are 25 words which we cannot use, which is so limiting, and it's so frustrating as a censor board member. It has changed so much.
Like Cinema Paradiso, we should make a film out of the excisions.
Yes.
Yeah, the climax. Yeah.
The climax, yeah. And I'm one member who is always fighting with the other members. Like, they want to, I mean, what words can you eliminate from a good film? I mean, when you are making a film on gay and lesbian, you have to use the word, isn't it? But then you have to blur it, or you have to mute it. I mean, it's so frustrating. So the very sense of censorship has no sense at all now, because so many independent filmmakers, they don't want this. They want, I mean, like I said, every film made should be organic. What the freedom of expressing yourself, it comes from the filmmakers. And if you put so much of limitation on what you make, I mean, censor board is also like, I feel that it's a totally doomed situation now. And with Netflix, all the OTT coming up, I mean, what can you do about it?
If I may, I just have a question about the economics of Manipuri cinema, in the sense that at some.
I want to respond to what Husina said.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I mean, if you notice that the experiments in these kind of violent actions, and censorship is a violent action, and these kind of experiments are conducted in the periphery, and then they slowly enter, and you can sit back and say, this is not how India is, but this is how India, 10 years ago, but this is how India is today. And that these trials are done in the margins, and once the model is successful, it is implemented everywhere else, and that is across, including, I mean, I'm talking of the extreme militarization that we are comfortable with, even in our cities, the surveillance we are comfortable with. This was not the case. And you can see that we are not isolated in that. You can see that internationally. You can see a film like initially just surveillance of one person is seen as like how is this, who's given warrant for this? There was a need for a warrant and all of that. And now there's widespread surveillance. There's complete lying back and taking of it. So
yeah.
Something to be terribly frightened of, for sure.
That's true.
Vibhasa, I interrupted you. I just wanted to take off from what Husina, as an insider, tells us. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for sharing that, Husina.
You're an insider in so many ways in one when a discussion on this film comes. You know?
Yes. No, I was just curious because in the film somewhere you say that one of the films made more money than Sholay in Manipur or something like that.
Oh,
Yeah, so I assume that then it means that financially also making local Manipuri cinema is viable in the sense that it has some profitability, maybe not at the level of course, pan-India level profitability, but at
Like
the local.
everywhere else, it was still a financial gamble. And even the
Okay.
biggest studios today, Hollywood, Bollywood, every film is a bit of a gamble. Nobody, that is
Sure,
why,
yeah.
I mean, you can try your might, but you cannot industrialize it. You cannot say, I will make a product and it will run and I will have profits on it. I mean, surely, let me just put it like that, there are easier ways to make money.
Yeah.
But also at that time, what happened in Manipur, were there were not many opportunities for people in terms of that's not what they could
Yeah.
do. So this was one of a lot of people you could see this was a side hustle for them, and it was fun. And then so they would make even 1 or 2 lakhs was considered a decent profit, and that was enough. every पैसा they had to work hard for it. एक छोटे छोटे स्क्रीनिंग में you just see that in the end montage. No, एक जीप में जा रहे हैं.
Yeah.
One office boy will go in a jeep and do a screening. At the end of the screening, imagine वो लालटेन लेके आ रहा है. How much will she pay for the ticket?
Yeah.
So they would make say 1,000 rupees on one screening, and that was good to say खड़ा भरता. So. But it's actually the passion which drives them. It's not the money. And it's largely true for any cinema with a soul. It is largely true that that's what drives them.
Yeah, no, I think just to finish my question, the question was, are there some people who specifically, like, one of the first, I think, film montage included is in that, where he's a cop standing and they go into a chase action sequence. So I'm assuming there is some kind of also this, like entertaining action films being made. So are they being made with the motive of commercial motives, or are they something made as similar to the passion that we were talking, the filmmaker featured in your film, who was a forest officer and became a filmmaker? So are there also these young entrepreneurial filmmakers who are there?
Certainly all ilk, but like how alternative filmmakers in Bombay will bitch about Bollywood. So you will get, Imphal has a very rich culture of documentary filmmaking, which I didn't go into, and they would bitch about these films, and they I don't know, they never liked, because a lot of the films copy plot lines from elsewhere, so you can be judgmental about it at one level.
Because at the end of the day, it's all about entertainment. So if the audience likes it, then it's a hit.
But I had a little different point of view from because they were insiders and they were frustrated. Why aren't they being better films being made?
Yeah.
I completely get that. But I also felt, and I feel that is borne out, that once the cinema infrastructure is developed, once the filmmaking culture develops, then there is room, right? Then there is room for different kind of storytelling to happen, and you see Manipuri filmmakers, you cannot write them off.
Yes, yeah.
So that has borne out for them. Now they have an MFDC.
Yes.
I think they would have got all of that without this culture of filmmaking, So,
yes, yeah.
So I think it's borne out. So in this argument, I have won with them.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Jayanto, would you like to say something? Are you there, Jayanto?
Yeah.
Yeah, please go ahead.
I really don't have too many comments or too many questions to ask, but I did notice in the film that you are talking about cultural hegemony of sorts. First of all, even the kind of embargoes, the restrictions which the militants put upon the people by way of dressing, no saris, no bindi, and all that. And we also have the kind of cultural hegemony of the nation state, in the forms of those two obviously very North Indian gentlemen who are a part of that film forum, who also decide along with the elders of their own society as to what can be done and what cannot be done, And there is a suggestion in the very beginning that before all this, there is already a kind of a division in the Manipuri society in terms of the Meiteis and probably what we can call as the Vaishnava people. So, and for the rest of the country, it is, there are certain images of, those dancers with the mridangam and all that, which probably belong to one or the other. So there is a kind of an inbuilt system of cultural domination happening there in any case, and now we have the nation state, which tries to sort of impose its ideas upon what can be done and what cannot be done in terms of what is decent and what is not decent by way of dress, by way of behavior and all that, That is something I found very interesting undercurrents in the film. It's not actually a question, it's a very appreciative remark, about the film. And
also,
among other things,
there's a specific moment. I'm just discussing, so I'm just butting in, like we're sitting across each other.
Please.
If I may. But, the director has an argument with the worker during the film forum proceedings. And they're arguing about why is chicken soup excised, but why? And he says that we are a warrior culture. You think we became a warrior culture without eating chicken? And he's trying to explain to him that when Vaishnavism came in, all these, the vegetarianism came in, and that's not our culture. Now, the thing with culture is, how far back do you want to go? Like, actually, deep down, like the which, a cave person culture is, caveman culture would be our original culture. Like, so these fights over identity and what is our culture, is this, as you observed, it's an ongoing battle. And I mean, yes, you.
Okay, thank you for that. The other thing, in this connection, maybe I didn't understand it at all, but and at that time, it was even the subtitles were, I think, white against a white backdrop, so I couldn't really make out why. Is there a particular reason why the gentleman and the little boy, they are trying to put on what can be called as the Sikh patka or the half turban? Is it a part of the Manipuri dress? Or is it something that they were trying for the sake of novelty or whatever? Then he said, you can't shake your head too much, otherwise it will slip off. There is, of course, the mustaches. So who were they dressing up as?
Kunti has a character, like Karna. Kunti has a character who's Sardar. So there are,
okay,
like in many commercial centers of India, there are Sardars, and they picked up Manipuri, and they just look like Sardars, but as they wherever they go, they assimilate in this very unobtrusive way. So some prominent Sardars, in fact, even in the group that got together to make the first Manipuri film, which didn't see the light of day, but so there was a Sardar in that group also. So that's why it's one of the characters is a Sardar.
Thank you. That was very helpful.
Yeah. Sorry. Because it features in the posters of the film, I felt, okay, maybe I don't have to explain.
Also, another comment. I really like the way that you have not really, played sides with the conflict between the state, the center state.
Jayanto, sorry to interrupt you. I just want to say a big thanks to Husina and Konika. They want to log out now. It's late for them. So thank you both so much for joining us, and Husina for leading the discussion.
Thank you, Geeta, for the invite, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Same here. And we hope to meet you again soon.
Yeah.
Because, it's raining so heavily and I have to go back. So, like, it's late in the night and I'm sure Mamta would understand me. So,
It's yeah. Night, right?
Yeah. So we'll meet again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Husina.
See you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. Yeah, Jayanto, please go ahead.
No, actually, it wasn't a question. It was only an appreciation. So I guess I just end by repeating that it was a wonderful film. It talks to us on so many different levels that I found quite mesmerizing, if I can use that word. Wonderful film. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Faniraj, would you like to say something?
I want
Yeah, please come.
Mamta, you have already discussed a lot about insider and outsider. One of the best things what I found in your documentary is not using the voiceover. I mean, like voiceover in documentaries always gives you a feeling of an outsider dominant voice of narrating their lives. So by the time you started making this film, the question of representation was already thick in the air about aesthetics of who should represent whom. So by the way of not using the voiceover, I think you have done a very good thing there, and made the visuals to speak your point of view. So on that point, I want to ask you a question. The film is so deftly edited. Your point of view comes in the visuals, what you need to show us, to you and your view of the whole process to the audience. For me, editing is the one thing which makes the film wonderful. My only question is how much the editing process, how much your group is involved, or did you decide on the major editing points yourselves, or you involved a group? Because editing is the one which makes this film. It's a very deftly edited film which pays the homage to montage, the aesthetics of montage. So what was the editing process, and how much you thought that you involve others or you do it by yourself?
No, I had a very experienced editor, Rikav Desai, and it's finally a director can say, I want this after this, but to exactly put it together in what you call seamless, that word that I heard somebody raise, that is the touch of an editor. I can't put claim to that. But what happens in the film is, of course, my call.
I mean,
filmed also a lot of parts are filmed by me because
because I mean,
camera.
A lot of things you say through your visuals and shots. I mean, let this be there and let this not be there. So when you were tossing insider and outsider, those questions will come out. I mean, like the choice you made that you follow that film troupe and filament, but in between also you decided to use that opportunity to talk about Iram Sharmila, to talk about the encounters which happens in the medical shop and all those things. Okay, I mean, they are knit so deftly.
They come during the film. Okay, so
yeah, that's right. During
the film, you pan to the TV. The location jahan pe they've gone to a real location and TV pe wo chal raha hai.
And again,
Sanjit ka thing is वो किसी के phone पे था. Unit के phone वाले पे था. Now, if I was to get so literal, I had that idea कि but then
I appreciate it.
Forcing a dogma.
I very much appreciate it. But while using it in editing, you decided that use those shots. I mean, that's how I feel. A filmmaker should make their point on what to show and what not to show. But that's what I said. It's a difficult choice for you. There's that which shots to use and which shots to use. But finally, as an audience, we feel whole point of view of the film, and we are very appreciative of it and pay a tribute to montage. So thanks for that.
Because I had a few threads in mind, and I had this idea that those threads might intersect, but I did not know for sure that will happen or not. So history of cinema came in later because I was just researching. It was I don't know. I wasn't sure whether it's going to come in or not. And then the editor of Kunti itself, he comes from a film family. And his mother, is
Yeah, he's the heroine of that film.
So
Yeah.
once I got one intersection point, then I started getting, others in. And then I got the beautiful images of Ibol Sharma, what he had filmed on his, just on his own. That comes just after the censorship episode, all those. His son just called me and gave it to me, and that day I said, the history of cinema will be as big a thread as the others. And
yeah, thanks to the editor, as you said,
yeah,
and to you, because you.
How do you do it? So a director will say, ये मुझे करना है, but how actually to lay it together and for exactly those frames to sit just right, that is the touch of an editor for sure.
Yeah. But the choice of the shots to include and not to include, and the sequencing. I mean, it has come out very deftly. I mean, it's one of the documentaries which I try. I mean, I advise somebody to use it in pedagogy to show that without voiceover, how you can put your point of view as understatement. So the visuals show your point of view. So the whole narrative is in your editing, deftly edited documentary, which is I have all the appreciation for it.
Thank you so much. But my next challenge is to make a film with a voiceover which doesn't feel didactic.
Yeah. I mean, doing a voiceover,
and for it to be, another text, then it's not how we grew up listening to FD.
Because question of voiceover as a politics of representation comes up again and again and again. That voiceover is like somebody representing someone or somebody dominantly commenting on someone. I mean, that kind of aesthetical question is there always in documentaries, but
like the voice of God.
Yeah, voice of God, and many a times long voiceovers narrating the whole situation. And putting a point of view through the point of view of the director through the voiceover. All those things have been discussed with respect to other documentary filmmakers. I mean, very acclaimed filmmakers, documentary filmmakers. So, but the thing is, it has worked out here because there was a question of representation. As by the time you started filming this, there was already a question of representation of Narmada movement, but even Meda itself, what right she is having to represent us, something like that. That debates were already on that kind of representation, and I don't know whether it is conscious decision to completely take out the voiceover, or was it a way you do your documentary? But anyway, it has worked beautifully with this film. I mean, aesthetically. It has removed that particular kind of outsider. I mean, kind of in aesthetics, saying that outsiders voiceover could have given a feeling that, yeah, there is outsider.
In hindsight, I feel I have minimized it, and there is a self-conscious way in which I use the colonial voice. I am opening colonial voice.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, of course.
Self-consciousness on my part, because I realized by the time I was filming that there are ways in which I was also a colonial voice. I did get that.
I feel that's the way you handle the way to handle the situation for me. I mean, like, as an audience.
Thank you for sharing that.
Lalita, would you like to come in?
Hi. Hi, Mamta. Hi. We've had, we've had these discussions about the film. So I feel a little, how do I say this? I feel a peculiar advantage. So I'm trying to be quiet about it. That was it, right? It's wild, right? Since I saw it, and it's amazing. It was amazing then, and it's amazing, and it still stays put. I was thinking slightly differently about how to frame it, because everybody's been asking such rich questions about the process and about how to look. And I'm not really sure. This is just my second session with this group, so I don't know what films people have seen before, etc. So I'm just one session older than you. That's about it. So, so one of the things I remembered, and I looked up, right, the notes. I think it's one of the best essay films that I've ever seen. And I said that to you, and I still hold that. I think it's sort of, it makes it, when I say that for today's discussion, it makes me want to shake off documentary forever. I think it's the film that decided that for me. So there is that, right? In a way that we had to rethink what it meant to think in an argument altogether. And against an argument, right? Which has been my obsession about how, and I think it does that marvelously. But today when listening to it, I was thinking, because of where we are now 20 years on, right? With the rise of what I would say, I wouldn't say particularly say like a robust film industry, but there's something going on in the Manipuri and in the other, I mean, sort of in the other Northeast states as well, right? We've got like a lot of, and I was at Madhushri's project Cinema City yesterday, at that inaugural, I mean, the digitization, so on. And all of this is now sort of in a sequence. So I was thinking about the ways in which we can think of that, what you land up chronicling, a way of thinking about those and that filmmaking culture and aesthetic as becoming a model for a number of independent filmmaking in India. And I don't mean India, I meant in, like, I'm going to be really specific, in southern India, like, just that kind of chutzpah to be able to pull off, right? So in a way, it made me think of other ways of thinking about this against national cinemas, against even documentary. For example, you said this in a slight remark. You didn't just say this. You said, oh yeah, there are lots of documentary filmmakers in Imphal. That's what it is, right? Because you've got the big, it's like, you make political documentaries and you're there, and it's Manipur, and you're going to have that space. But that's the dominant cinema in a way, right?
Yes.
And that becomes a dominant way of thinking about it again. I mean, as insurrections, of thinking about militarization. I mean, those are the kind of keywords. So, and that's a particular kind of, and then you land up sort of producing something, as it were, a sideways way of thinking about it, like a film culture that takes off. And for a long time in the 2000s, it was only about Manipuris absorbing East Asian cinemas. That was the story that was being said again and again. That's what we would hear. There was something going on there. So all of that is what it is in a way, but also what is interesting is that I think this film, and I think your film, manages for us to think about this is, since I'm such a fan of, manages to imagine a place that is post-national cinemas altogether. That's it. I think, I know you don't want to wear that on your shoulders, like, what the hell is that? But I think it really just sort of like opens it up completely. Like, I think of documentaries also as national cinemas, very much. Not just FD, but, the kind of culture, the documentaries that we've now gotten accustomed to, especially the indie documentary. And this works against all of that. So for me, it is probably one of the best essay films I've seen in the last 10 years, 20 years. I'd say that.
High praise, Lalita.
Hardly. I wish I could say more. Hardly high praise. It's hardly, you deserve every bit of it. It's just kind of like, everybody said it. So I feel like I'm just in that chorus, but it's sort of like trying to think about it like, okay, it also plays a part in my book, that. So there's a way in which I was thinking like, yeah, it's just, I say it, what I was thinking of, it allows us to think about what Deleuze would call minor cinemas. That's what it is. It allows us to start thinking in those ways completely, right? So right now I want to put your film right against something that is going on in Ernakulam, right beside something that is going in Senhala cinema. It just sort of like just clears a space for that. Actually, no, you know where it is? I think that's what it was in the beginning. I thought that's right. Everybody who's making these amazing Punjabi films right now, these docu-films that are coming out of Punjab, so many good ones, right? So many good ones. They're not, they're just like, what? I think that's because of your work. I think it's there. Even if you haven't seen it, even if they haven't seen your work, what I meant is, it is just that, because the stuff that is coming out of Punjab is so interesting right now, right? And you can't, the word documentary doesn't even make any sense anymore for those works. They're so personal, they're so wild, and so full of, like, what would I call? So full of risk when you're watching it. So, yeah, that's what I have to say.
Yeah, that's certainly something I'd like to have on my side risk.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a political philosophy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Just for your information, Lalita, I think very soon we are going to have a Punjabi film festival.
Oh,
Oh.
good. I'm so glad now I'm in the circle.
I know. Even I'm feeling this. Yeah. Thank you, Geeta.
Very lovely. Always.
Welcome. Any other questions or comments?
Can I make a point?
Yes, please go ahead, Ajanta.
So this is a very, very sort of an ignorant point. I don't know. But clearly the way in which, in the sort of federation of, so I'm thinking of somebody like, Partha Chatterjee's argument of a relative history of the Indian nation. Huh? To Wapi, it's the northeastern states against which the army is mobilized pretty much from the beginning. No? So that, I think Mamta's film for me is so special because it's really talking about the way in which, and she also made this point, I don't know if it was, but it really struck me that many of the experiments, and the word experiment I actually put in sinister quotes. So say the Foreigners Registration Act, which has now become, the NRC or the CAA. Many of these things are actually, by calling them disturbed areas, are then actually part of centrally now the project of the nation. So one, I think Mamta's story is very much a national story, a very sinister kind of national story that's now mainstream. Yes. So I don't think it's, so for me, it's not post-national. It's in a sense the whole, the transformation, the pedagogic transformation that we're seeing in terms of the definition of India. And if you draw the line, I think Mamta, if you were to read the nation from 1946 to where we are, 1915, the first Citizenship Act is, comes in then, sometime around then. So I think this is very much actually a story of the Indian nation in transition. So as she said, to think about the fact that the political dynamics and how they've shifted in the Northeast, yeah, that the BJP is now so firmly entrenched. So what does that mean? And I don't know enough about the Northeast at all, but certainly I think it's very much a story of the nation, and a story of the nation as it's changing in very, to me at least, sort of worrying ways. So this is just, my observation. And I wonder if Mamta has, what she'd like to respond, how she would like to respond. So obviously she knows so much more about the Northeast than I do.
No, I claim to be no expert. Honestly, it was about that political moment. But I think she means it in this post-national claims, these claims of having a national identity, like when you say there is Indian cinema, and she's talking about this pan-Indian, to give a identityhood to every goddamn thing that we do, as if I mean, that's why we delve in arts, right? I mean, you're fighting these boundaries constantly.
But also, Mamta, that the fact that something like the NRC is now being mainstream, right? So clearly there are techniques of governmentality.
Yes.
And so, what I found so interesting is that you begin exactly as you say with the colonial quote, that the nation has exactly that same viewpoint to the Northeast at a certain point in time, in terms of the laws that are enacted, in terms of kind of declaring them disturbed areas, in terms of exactly as you say, the sinister experiments that are first carried out.
Yeah.
And now, so however the Congress may be dynastic and all of that, clearly now the template has changed. Yeah, and that entire sort of, and there are so many other changes that have happened internally too. The idea of federalism and, what is happening to India now. So, and the really complex sort of ways in which the NRC is playing out in the Northeast. I wonder how, so I actually, like all of us, I'm worried about how things are going to play out, but I'm just suggesting, Mamta, that it's that sinister story that's becoming mainstream, no? So yeah, so when yeah.
But I'm also sort of proposing, cinema could be a site of citizenship, for example. I mean, how long can we mourn the loss of this innocence? So I'm also talking about how we can find other sites of belonging. I'm proposing. I know it sounds radical at this time, but I'm proposing that there could be other ways by which we could be citizens together. And I think somewhere Manipur shows that way.
Sure. Thanks. Sure.
And Mamta, sorry again extending. And one of that film about that politician talking to Gandhi, it brought me to the memory because I was part of one particular seminar where a scholar from Northeast was speaking on when we are talking about what is the influence of Gandhi on the Quit India movement and Gandhi and nation psyche all through the geography of nation. He said that he openly said, and of course he was putting his point rightly, saying that Gandhi is an outsider to us because what Gandhi means to the mainland India is not what is the idea of Gandhi, what we have. So when we talk of Gandhi, we should understand it in a very different way. And that's very interesting to note that that film came somewhere in 80s, no? I am not sure. I mean, that film, you mentioned the date of that film about the politician, and that comes there, rightly it comes there in a kind of a pop film, right? So there is a kind of element of interweaving of the narrative of nation building in your film, which is very subtle and which comes as a very, deft editing. I mean, that comes at a particular time when you are going on that narrative. And also this comes, that's why I asked you choice of shots that you knit there in your editing. That all of a sudden,
I agree.
Yeah,
and I'm
so many.
that you noticed that. Because in that sense, if you notice that the Manipuri filmmakers have also made this film, which is why I'm a usurper of the place, but I have them on the credits before me because they have told the tale. If you notice, if you actually sit down and break the film apart, it's they who are telling you.
Yeah.
That's the insider tension that you get over there. That they are telling you what transpired in that time, because these films were of their moment, of their contemporary moment. They were alive to that moment, so they are alive in the historical document like this. They make it what is. So I'm so glad you.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether it's conscious or not. All of a sudden during film shooting, a guy comes with that I have won by 900 votes, Congress through Congress. I mean, such points are definitely made at critical points. I mean, while you're going through the journey of that thing, so that I appreciate it very much. That's the subtle way of understatement you make, and hence a political commentary on what is going on. So that I liked it very much. The way you use those shots and knitted those shots in variety.
So, which is why, funny, Raj, I want to tell Basav is still here, that I wrote the film because these were like dialogues which emerged as I was, when we were transcribing and translating. These are the dialogues. The dialogues are not written by me, but the screenplay is definitely constructed by me.
Yeah, and I give all the credit to you. I give all the credit to you. That's what I'm saying. When I say that this is a very depth editing, I mean there is a contribution to you. I give whole credit to you. That part of it.
Yeah. Also, you can see I had great affection for the unit I was filming with. I'm sure it comes through. We spoke very little because he knew English, but filmmaking is a very absorbing task. I would ask very few questions. मैं कुछ भी पूछती नहीं थी. आज क्या करना है, कहाँ जाना है, बहुत कम. Because I know how tense he must be. It's her own money online, and so had great affection, and I think that also comes through.
Yeah, I mean, it's very good thing that you got in groove with them and you moved with them. I mean, that's one of the greatest. I mean, that's a very bright point in this movie is that you followed that film unit, and that builds a narrative throughout. I mean, that's the beauty of this film, that through a film unit, I mean, going with the journey of a film unit, you see the world of Manipur. That's one of the ways. That's the way why when I got the, I mean, when I saw the not even now, it's only available on YouTube, the Satyajit's film on Sikkim, which he made it as an educational documentary. But that film didn't get a certification because of the kind of view he expresses. Like he's having a lot of, it was like a promotion documentary for the kingdom. But that gives a point of view to Indian state, that what Satyajit Ray is trying to say. So they didn't certify it, and even now it is not certified. So I mean,
used as a tool.
Yeah.
So it's.
I mean,
hardly...
because that's what I said. Yeah. It was very interesting that in 2012 you were making this point as I mean, journey through a film unit and making all these points visible to the audience through your visuals.
And today there's no difference, zero difference between what the Manipuri filmmakers are going through and what an Indian filmmaker will be going through.
Yeah.
As their film is finishing.
Yeah.
There's zilch difference.
I mean, 10 years after, it's become still harder. I mean, like those 3 words and I mean, chicken soup and all this thing. And now it has become much more harder.
Yeah. You can find parallels, I'm sure. I don't even have to point them out.
Yeah, that's right. That's perfectly. Thank you, Mamta.
Thank you, Fania.
Any more questions, comments? Otherwise, we will conclude the session. Okay. Yeah, okay. In that case, we will conclude this session. Thank you very much, Mamta, for being here and being patient with all the questions and the comments and giving us your side of the story. We enjoyed your film thoroughly, and I hope to see you again here. I hope you come back to Talking Films Online. We meet every Saturday at 9 p.m. It would be nice if you could make yourself available for these sessions.
Thank you so much for having me and having this amazing group of extremely cinema literate people. Finally, it's when you share a film with the audience, and this is a privilege independent filmmakers have, which a lot of big filmmakers don't have, that we share our film in person with an audience. And with the documentary, it's alive for so many years. So thank you for grabbing that and making this available for me.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks all. Bye.
Good night. Bye.
See you next Saturday. Bye.